2026. We are going to get started on today's daily collective read in the next few minutes. But if you would like to get on the list for a personal reading today, the list, as always, is open. As always, it is 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also doing a giveaway today. When we get to 50K likes, I will be gifting a reading back to the collective. So make sure you're tapping that screen, and we will get to 50K in no time. Prior to beginning our today's daily collective read, I will be giving a brief recap on what we've been seeing in the cards over the last few days. Now, if you'd like to find those full readings, you can find them over on the place where we keep the videos. You can also find them over on the place where we keep the photos. You can also find them as a podcast over on my spot at Tarot Church and over on my stack. But before we get started today, first and foremost, most important question: how are you doing today? Scale of 1 to 10. There are no wrong answers. Happy full moon in Aquarius. It's an intense one. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what we can potentially expect as we're navigating an Aquarius full moon energy in the sign of Leo. There's also some very important things that have been happening astrologically around this particular full moon that I think that we have to take into consideration. First and foremost, I want to talk a little bit about what we potentially have been seeing and experiencing since the last full moon. And you'll remember that last full moon was a full moon in Capricorn, right? A full moon in Capricorn that's often working into, and I like to describe a Capricorn full moon, I often brings old wounds to the surface, right? There's a lot of that energy that potentially rises up in relationality to working out and observing what it is that we ourselves have been carrying for a good period of time. But what's beautiful about this, and this is what we potentially saw with that Cancer new moon in Cancer season, right? We have that journey that effectively articulates that the old wounds come up, right? So that they can effectively be cleansed with the concept of the present perception, right? And sometimes there's a lot of that energetic healing that arises there. And I will also point out, Aquarian energy can have a tendency of being somewhat sentimental. But what's beautiful about it, and this is what we continually to see as we move into an Aquarius new moon in Leo season, is the sentimentality that we effectively articulate is the expression of the love that we've effectively put towards things, right? And when we think about that, when we think about the fact that our sentimentality is a legacy of the care that we've applied into things, then we hold that sentimentality with a sense of appreciation, or with a sense of care, with a sense of deepening conviction in relationality to what it is that we ourselves are trying to move through. However, there were some very significant changes that have occurred in the period of experience by which we had that Cancerian new moon in Cancer season leading into this full moon energy. And one of the 2 things that we need to talk about is the fact that there are some very heavy planets that are currently in retrograde. One of them is Neptune and the other is Saturn, and they're both retrograding right now in Aries. And what does that often bring forth? The best way that we can often recognize it is when we're working through Neptune in retrograde with a Saturn in retrograde. It can often identify, or the feeling that we often identify in relationality to feeling very pulled back towards the past, right? The past can often feel like it's very energetically heavy within us. However, when we're working towards, or we're able to effectively understand that, like importantly, then we recognize that our own feeling of strength, right? The strength that we energetically bring to things allows us to be able to effectively carry or convey the feelings that we ourselves are navigating through. So I would not be, and this is not surprising, given the fact that as we're navigating all of this energy right now, where are we seeing where are we seeing the new relationship path works? We're seeing a lot of energy right now that is building into relationship, focusing on the lessons that we identify in the strength card, which is why we're calling them strength partnerships. Now, specifically, these relationships have been coming together from the time of the new moon in the Taurus new moon that we experience in Taurus season that was occurring in the period of time around early May up until the present. Now, these relationships are effectively being identified with a sense of energetic conviction, right? It's working through potentially feeling an appreciation for the strength that they found on their own journeys. And it's not easy, right? Because often that strength that we have to find, it's not something that we were necessarily inclined to, right? It's not something that we aspire to, but something that we feel very much invested in because it's the observation of understanding what it is that we ourselves are becoming stronger about. So we see that there's a lot of steadfastness right now in these relationships, potentially even speaking towards an appreciation of the discovery of one's strength, or simultaneously the observation and the appreciation of the strength that one is finding in counterpart connection. And what's beautiful about that is we're seeing that that's a lot of energy. There's nothing codependent about those relationships, but rather we see that they are interdependent, right? The ability to effectively feel the point of strength that allows allows one another to feel even more grounded and secure in the partnership itself. Now, this brings us to the relationships that are moving deeper into divine union right now. And those were specifically the world partnerships. They were relationships that were focusing on a lot of the lessons that we see in the world card of the tarot. And they were coming together between the time of that new moon in Taurus season that we experienced in late May, leading into the Capricorn new moon in Capricorn season that we experienced in early January. These relationships were all about finding the courage to be able to step forward in ways that one has not done it before. There's a lot of those relationships that are potentially building an appreciation for their own feeling of energetic courage. The hard thing about courage, though, right? Courage is often identified and articulated by being able to confront one's own sense of vulnerability, right? It doesn't feel being courageous often feels like you're doing something from a point of deep anxiety or fear, but it's that same feeling of courageousness that has allowed them to move deeper into a relationship. And what they're effectively finding on the other side of that energetic leap is something that feels very powerful and restorational. There's a lot of energetic strength that we're observing within those frameworks. However, one of the things that we see maybe being navigated right now for some of those relationships is working through the observation of healing from a relationship that they're now in that potentially prioritizes mutual comfortability. Because when we're navigating or we're identifying or we're working through mutual comfortability or we're finding mutual comfortability in a relationship, it can sometimes remind us or build into the observation by which we ourselves were not prioritizing it in our own experience. And so this is why we see that for a lot of those relationships, there may be a lot of deep healing that is occurring in those dynamics. And the deep healing that we're effectively observing has to do with the observation of either identifying experiences in the past wherein the self was not prioritizing mutual comfortability as a grounding force in a healthy partnership, and it's allowing for a level of care to come towards those partnerships in a way that they never have before. Or there's observations of individuals healing from relationships by which they couldn't necessarily see that that wasn't occurring. So we see that for a lot of those relationships, there may be a lot of expression of emotionality that's coming through there because they're building bonds of intimacy as they explore or they discuss those experiences in a deeper fashion. Now, this brings us to the relationships that are deep within divine union. And these are specifically the relationships that were the moon relationships. They were focusing on a lot of the lessons that we see in the moon card of the tarot. And they were coming together between the time of that new moon in Capricorn that we experienced in late January, leading into the the moment when Uranus first went retrograde in early September of last year. Now, these relationships are all about navigating new phases, right? The observation of being able to work through a new phase is potentially relationships that prioritize mutual, right? Mutual energetic prioritization, right? The ability to give each other the gift of time. And these are effectively relationships where there may be a lot of invested effort that is occurring right now, a lot of concentration in terms of putting effort to things that require perseverance. So we see that there may be something in those relationships that feels very energetically protective, as it were, right? Working into the context of protectivity that allows for productivity. And at the same time, in that space, we also observe that the relationships themselves are potentially navigating situations outside of relationship that may be either informing or devastating them in relation to what they are seeing there. Because it's the observation that when we're moving towards what we know is mutually beneficial for us, we could expect or we would aspire for the energy outside of relationship to feel the same way. But this is why we're identifying that if these are situations or circumstances wherein there's not that observation or potentially even experiencing something that feels like a relationship outside of partnership that feels like it's navigating instability in the face of a relationship coming together. It's that information, right, that is informing upon the experience. And either it is potentially helping, right, helping the energy to to find more secure footing in partnership, but at the same time, it may be requiring having to put space away from situations where one is observing that the issue that's occurring around a relationship that is not necessarily something that should be prioritized has to do with the feeling of not being able to establish a healthy orbit around the partnership itself. Now, that is where we find all of the energy prior to beginning today's daily collective read. But if you would like to find that full reading, you can find it over on the place where we keep the videos. You can also find it on the place where we keep the photos. You can also find it as a podcast over on my spot at Tarot Church and over on my stack. I would also encourage you to head over to my stack to learn more about our next tarot class, which is going to be occurring on Friday, August 14th at 5:30 p.m. PST, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We will be focusing our studies into the tarot with a study on the three cards of the minor arcana. If you would like to become a part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive, and the opportunity of receiving an assessment meeting with me where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I try to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events and my online live schedule, as well as my mystic meditation articles, which will let you know about what we've been seeing in each of the lunar cycles. I just wrote one recently on this full moon that we're currently navigating. You can find it over there. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students that are seeking a more personalized educational experience by me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are specifically focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also for my students that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute reads, again weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey at a discounted rate, as well as my dream interpretation readings, which you can purchase per dream or as a series. Now, if you purchase a series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal to utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I'd also like to invite you to join us this evening. If you'd like to talk more about spirituality, I will be joining Mercy Me Tarot for a conversation on, and a bunch of other incredibly talented spiritual educators, for a conversation on what we can expect in the current spiritual landscape. That will be starting over on the Clock app tonight at 6:30 p.m. 3:30 p.m. PST, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, and I hope to see you there. But let me know in the comments how this energy is impacting you personally, because it is going to hit everybody just a little bit differently. That said, we are going to get started on personal readings. If you would like to get on the list for today, the list, as always, is open. As always, it is 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Binks in my Lio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also going to be doing a giveaway today. When we get to 50K likes, I'll be gifting a reading back to the collective, so make sure you're tapping that screen and we'll get to 50K in no time. We are prioritizing readings today, given a short period of time. So I would encourage you, if you would like to, we are going to start today with those who are prioritized on the list, and then we'll be moving directly into 1 cards. If you get on the list right now, you will be read for once we complete those 1 cards. Thank you so much. Excellent. How are you doing today? And Nicole, thank you for those likes. Always appreciated. Good to see you today. And thank you for sharing the live. How are you doing today, Heart Talk? A reminder as well for those who are joining us on the place where we keep the videos. You can also get on the list today via my tree that has Binks in it in my Lio. And if you are a paid member there, you have the same benefits that are entitled to you as a subscriber. So that means a discounted rate on relationality to having or receiving a personal reading, as well as the opportunity of receiving a free complimentary reading each day. How are you doing today, 7? Hope you're having an absolutely beautiful day. I'm happy to read for you, Lohith. If you'd like to get on the list is open. Excellent. And thank you, A, for the follow. Appreciate it. Julia, good to see you today, dear. How are you doing? Excellent. Thank you as well. Excellent. And thank you so much, Ivana, for those jewels. I appreciate you. So in terms, who is asking? Blarinka. And again, if I'm ever saying your name incorrectly, by all means, please feel free to correct me. We did tarot astrology about 2 days ago. So if you want to see all of the sign work, you can find it either over on the place where we keep the videos or on the stack or as a podcast over on my spot. I hope that helps. Absolutely. Mary, in relationality to past life readings, I do offer past life readings here. I will say, I've yet to meet someone. I mean, I've yet to meet someone that doesn't have a past life. The question is usually related to how close we feel to it. So I hope that helps. How are you doing today, dear? And welcome, Mia. Excellent. And Lucas, I thank you for reposting and sharing. Guys, make sure to give Lucas some love. Reader supporting reader. So good to see you today, dear. And Minnie, thank you for sharing the live as well. Excellent. How you doing today, Per? Yes, Julia, that aligns deeply. A healthy orbit around the people we interact with. Oh, you did? You had a dream about it? Well, I'm looking forward to it. I can believe we have a reading coming up today. I would not be surprised right now if the dream space is wild. The one thing I want to identify, especially when we've got both Saturn, like both Saturn and Neptune in retrograde, it can bring up a lot of shadow work dreams. So if that's occurring too, that's something to pay attention to. Absolutely. And thank you, GB, for those gifts. Appreciated. How you doing today, Avatar? And thank you for sharing the live, Dada. Always appreciate when you guys share the live. Oh, that's well. I'm glad that you're here and you're letting us help you move through that time in a positive way, dear. Excellent. So good to see you. I mean, it's a very interesting insight that you bring, Chris. And I think that one of the things that we navigate in terms of understanding that is, and this is something that we talk about here in relationship, we should never be in a relationship by which we feel like we need to fix someone, right? Because in the context by which we feel like someone needs to be fixed, we're already recognizing that we're not in energetic alignment. So we often see this, and I think that this is something that we're going to be talking a lot about as it relates to, and this is what I mean about these strength relationships, right? The observation that when we're doing our own work, we don't look to fix things outside of the self. We work to effectively fix things within the self that then allows us to be able to observe whether situations and circumstances are in alignment to us. Mm, all right. Absolutely. The list right now is actually, you, if you would like to get on the list right now, you will be the third person read for. The list is nice and short. It's 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Thanks in my Lio. Excellent. I did like it, Nicole. It was really cute. I appreciate you. Yes, and the list is open for those that are interested in getting on it. As I mentioned, what we do here is we always prioritize those who got on the list before we got started with today's readings. So we'll be doing 2 readings today before we be moving into 1 cards. I will point out we are working on a bit of a shortened timeline today. So we are going to be focusing and prioritizing. We are going to be focusing and prioritizing those who are on the list, and if we have time, if there's time permitting today, we will be moving to a daily collective. But we want to make sure that we're able to prioritize those who effectively have 1 cards coming towards them as well today. Excellent. I got you on the list, Gina. Thank you for getting on the list. You'll be the third person read for today. And as the third person read for, you'll be read for once we complete the 1 cards. Excellent. All right. Just bear with me one moment. All right. I will point out, I am not, for the individuals who are commenting in the chat space, I don't claim to be an astrologer. I am a tarot reader that often looks towards astrology. I have a lot of respect for those who focus on the study of astrology, and I would never make the claim to be an astrologer for that reason. So if you're seeking a Vedic astrologer, then I'm afraid that you're in the wrong space. I hope that helps. Okay. Excellent. Absolutely. You're so welcome, Gina. Looking forward to our reading. Avatar, Weird Dreams. Really? Oh, but I need to point this out, right? Like this is what I mean with shadow work, right? And we often talk about this. So one of the things we often recognize with shadow work dreams is they come towards us in the energy that we feel safest with. And why does that? And I know that it can sometimes feel riveting or anxiety inducing when that occurs. But the observation of being able to understand, and this is how the guides effectively see it, being able to understand that there's nothing in the dream space that we ourselves haven't experienced. So the observation that sometimes we see those that we care about appearing in the dream space so that we can work our shadow work out is often the amplification of the experience of how antithetical that person is to what we're experiencing in the dream space, that helps us really understand and navigate everything that we may have energetically gone through with another person. I hope that helps, Avatar. And again, if you ever want to have a reading related to that on like here, we can always do so. Again, if it's too emotional, we can always move that into a private as well. How are you doing today, Waking? Excellent. All right. And as I mentioned, yep, absolutely. So we do have individuals right now, and I hope that helps in terms of what you might be experiencing. And the thing about it, I just need to point out, we might be having a lot of heavy dreams right now, and a lot of that heaviness that we're potentially identifying in the dream space is potentially the result of Sagittarius, like Saturn and Neptune, right? Being in retrograde in Aries, which is having feelings around situations and circumstances by which we've been carrying things for a long time. That said, we are going to get started on personal readings today. As I said, we do have a tight amount of time today, so we want to utilize it as best as we're energetically able. The first person that we will be reading for today is going to be Julia. Julia, if you're here, can you respond in all caps? Let me know if you would like a general reading or if you have a specific question you would like me to answer. And as I mentioned, if anybody else wants to get on the list for today, it's an absolutely beautiful time to get on the list. You will be the fourth person read for. 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. I got you, dear. Excellent. Ooh, we're doing outside tea. And before we start with Julia's reading, let's warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal oracle cards here. We're going to count back from 10. And when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It was the stag, but I appreciate the way you guys are working through that. Oh my goodness. Excellent. I totally understand, Julia. That's wonderful. How are you doing today, Kitty? I hope you're having an absolutely beautiful day. And let me just pull up your question, dear. And just a reminder to those who are joining us, if you have information that you feel is necessary or relevant for the purposes of our read, you can include it in the notes when you send the donation. You can also post it in our subscriber only Disco channel in the appropriate channels that are available to anyone who becomes a super fam or a paid subscriber. Excellent. Hmm. Ooh, we're just starting. I knew today was going to be a dream day. It's the Aquarius full moon, right? It's the Aquarius full moon. Let's get to it. Okay. And is this inside tea? I think you said it was outside tea. Hold on a moment. Mm-hmm. Outside, perfect. And you guys know what we do before we start a dream interpretation. We always bust out the dream coconut. I've got it here. Beautiful. All right, let's get into it. So, I had one dream where a friend that I made recently, and I've been having inklings that he has some potentially bad influence energy around him. And in the dream, I saw this girl, and she was so excited to question me, but it revealed more about her. I don't do drama or people whispering in people's ears about me without even knowing me and then being influenced by that. And then the guides had me in the dream book a rented space in California right after the dream. And then I went into another dream when I went back to sleep. I was in some kind of space or location, and these individuals in the dream space, instead of being kind and welcoming to me, were extremely mean and uninviting. I was crying to them and trying to tell them how hurtful it was to be treated in such an unwelcoming and horrible way. And they laughed at me. What's interesting is all these people were from my previous occupation and the place where I was bullied at the time. And it just made my heart so sad. I told them I was leaving, and it made them glad. Some of them seemed to be a bit concerned, but did nothing to stop it until I became hysterical, and they were all like good riddance. It was odd because there was even a little boy who was going to get ice cream in his little car, and I was trying to help him, and he noticed the other people didn't like me, and it made him be mean to me too. No matter what I did or where I turned, all I found was cruelty. So, can I please get four cards, please? Four cards. And thank you for being the first person on the list today. You'll actually be having five cards. Mm-hmm. So what we're effectively observing here in relation to the dream space, and I think I want to start this by identifying and reminding you that we began this reading with a conversation related to the fact that there's a lot of shadow work that's coming up in the dream space right now. And we see a lot of this shadow work being energetically reflected in this dream. And the most important thing you have to recognize when we're working through shadow work dreams is shadow work dreams reveal to us the full extent of something that we ourselves energetically went through. Okay? So we have to start this dream with understanding that the guides are showing you the full extent of not only something that you experienced, but also helping you to unpack the why of it, right? And the thing you have to understand when we're working through the why is sometimes understanding another person's why doesn't make it better, it makes it sadder. Okay? So, what do we effectively see that's energetically happening in this dream? We identify and recognize that you began the dream with an individual, with a connection, with doing an energetic read on someone that you potentially feel connected to. However, you identify the fact that you have some kind of strange feeling, that there may be some kind of negative influential energy around them. And what did you then see that was appearing in the dream space? You saw someone, you saw an energy of an individual, and this is the important thing you have to understand. The individual that you saw that wanted to approach you, you've never met before, right? You don't know who this person is, okay? You have no idea who this person is. You've never met them before in your whole experience. You literally just gave some describing features, okay? And you said they were excited to question you, right? But the questions they were asking revealed more about them, right? They revealed more about them than they did about you. Because, and I'm not sure, and you didn't go into detail as to effectively identifying or clarifying upon why that would be, right? But instead, right? Instead, identifying that as they effectively spoke to you, you started to recognize what their energetic intentions were. And that effectively identified or articulated the fact that you clearly indicated in that moment you laid down some heavy standards, right? Because you don't do drama. And you understand and the shape of drama. And it's interesting that you identified and said drama, because what is drama? Drama is someone trying to stir up energy for the sake of the stirring, right? And your ability of recognizing, if even in the dream space, that some energy seeks nothing more than to have something negative to talk about, right? And you even identified the observation, the connectivity point to the individual speaking to you in a candid way, but rather than speaking to you openly, energetically whispering to others in relation to you without even potentially knowing you or being influenced by you. So, what do we effectively identify and recognize in that experience, right? The understanding and the identification point of someone that would be effectively working as a bad actor. And the thing about that is, and here's the thing about it, you potentially recognize that when someone does that, right? When an individual does that, they're not in connection with their guides, right? They're not in connection with their guides. They're often they're very, very far off of energetic alignment. And then you said that in the dream space, right? You then move back into the dream space, right? And in the dream space, you identified that there was a state or a location, and the individuals in that space were being kind and welcoming to you, except you identified that there was some kind of quality to them being kind and welcoming that effectively felt extremely mean and uninviting. Okay? And so, what you're effectively describing there is passive aggressiveness. And passive aggressiveness, and you even identified that in that space, you identified that you were crying to them and telling them how hurtful it was to be treated in such an unwelcoming and horrible way. But here's the thing, right? And this is potentially what the guides were trying to show you in the quality and condition of navigating passive aggressiveness. Your reactivity in that moment is exactly what passive aggressiveness tries to elicit from another person, right? The worst thing about passive aggressiveness is that passive aggressive is quietly cruel. Passive aggressiveness is quietly cruel. And when another person tries to give voice to the fact that another person is being quietly cruel, you've already identified it's cruel energy. There's not going to be any empathy there. So the observation, it's the cycle of passive aggressiveness, or those who embody passive aggressiveness, which is the resulting situation or circumstance of navigating an individual's quiet cruelty, right? The quiet cruelty of another that is then further amplified, that when you express the fact that they're causing you pain, they delight in it, right? They delight in it because that is the shape, that is the nature of their cruelty, right? Somebody energetically cruel, somebody who finds satisfaction in hurting another, right? When you express to them that it's working, right? That's why they're going to energetically laugh. They're going to laugh because the laughter is not them telling you that you're being silly. The laughter is their delight in energetically eliciting that from you, right? And that was the observation apparently in this space. And this is what you even observed. You identified the fact that this was potentially connected to past experiences that you felt before. And you identified the reason that you said in the dream space that it made your heart so sad. And I want to point this out. The guides didn't even have to move into potentially the space of putting it towards somebody who cared about you, right? Because it's you being able to effectively see, right? That's just you coming into the full quality and condition as to what that was all about. Okay? Now, this is where it goes deeper. And this is why I said that this is a guide dream that's helping you try to identify the why. Why would someone be of that way, right? Why would someone be in the space by which they effectively delight in seeing another person being hurt in that way? Well, we effectively identify and we move deeper into that in the observation, okay? We move deeper into that in the observation about the fact that when you said that when you were hysterical and they said good riddance, right? You said it was odd, and here's where it gets very important, okay? You identified that it was odd because there was a little boy who was going to get ice cream in their little car, and you were trying to help him. But then you noticed, and then they noticed the other people around you didn't like you, and they started to be mean to you. Because what often happens, right? And this is what we talk about in the nature of understanding the nature of cruelty, is when we prioritize acceptance, we become the force of the cruelty that we've experienced, right? The reason that you saw that little boy all alone is because they themselves were potentially navigating the same energy as you. So the opportunity, right? And this is the thing about it, the opportunity for that energy, right? The opportunity for that energy to be kind to you would have to require them to be brave for you, right? And this is what we do for one another. This is why we talk about the power of love, because the power of love stands in the face of others' cruelty, right? Because when we effectively identify and articulate that we won't be a part of cruel systems, then we become the force of love that others energetically experience. But you identified the fact that you saw, right? You saw in the dream space that small child, right? You saw in the dream space that small child who was just trying to get ice cream, right, in their car. But what you really recognized is that child was terrified, right? There's that child energetically terrified because when they saw the energy being cruel to you, right, They didn't start being mean to you because they desired to, right? They were being mean to you because they feared that if they were not mean to you, then those others who were being cruel to them would be mean to them, right? And this is why we articulate that that not only is love beautiful, but love is energetically brave. Love stands in the face of others' cruelty, because when we energetically do so, right? And that's why you said no matter what you did or what you expected, all you found was cruelty. The guides are effectively showing you this to help you understand that what you're navigating isn't cruelty, it's fear. Bottom of the deck, it's fear, right? When we care about one another, we become brave for one another. When we care about one another, we articulate upon what is and is not okay. Because when you fall into line with cruelty, you perpetuate cruel cycles. So this is effectively, and I want you to understand that even in the context by which you were energetically experiencing that, the guides were effectively revealing that to you, to show you, right, to help you understand the nature of why others would be that way, right? Insecure energy will usually embody the height of cruelty, right? And the reason that insecure energy will embody the height of cruelty is because insecure energy is terrified, right? Is terrified about experiencing it. But when we care about each other, right? When we care about each other, we become each other's shields from it. Thank you so much for having that reading with me, dear. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now. If you would like to get on the list for today, the list is open. It is 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Binks and Mylayo. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also doing a giveaway today. When we get to 50K likes, I'll be gifting a reading back to the collective, so make sure you're tapping that screen and we'll get to 50K in no time. And thank you so much for sharing that dream with us to be read for today, Julie. I hope you're having an absolutely beautiful day. Thank you for the follow me. Bear with me a moment. Pixie, I actually have a movement that I founded called Tarot Church. I need to articulate that in the 30 years that I've been studying tarot, there's absolutely nothing in the tarot that is antithetical to a faith path work. In fact, understanding the quality of the tarot will probably move you closer to one. I hope that helps. Absolutely. Excellent. And just reading up. Mm-hmm. And Heaven, thank you for the follow. Right. I was like, I do not allow myself to be, but, and this is the thing that's important about it, right? Which is the observation. But here's the thing you also have to effectively identify. And there's something here that's also very important, right? Your shadow work, your energetic shadow work in relation to working through things is the observation. And we're going to talk about this because I feel like, there's something about that that's being shown to you about your own energetic feelings, right? And this is what's important to identify with shadow work, right? Because shadow work shows how your necessary inclinations related to something might be a result of what you yourself experienced. I like to point out, and this is really important about it, right? You identified that you saw someone that wanted to ask you questions. But here's the thing you have to pay attention to in that dream space, right? Did you feel like that about that individual? Because did you feel like that about that individual specifically and particularly because they knew that they were trying to energetically harm you with their questions? Or are you working through the shadow work of those experiences by which, like when you have a lot of history of others being energetically cruel to you, right? You always have to make sure that you're giving others the benefit of the doubt, right? And that's what effectively the dream was trying to show you as well. So being able to recognize that as you move through things, these feelings might come up, but this is why, right? The guides are showing you this to help you effectively heal. And that doesn't mean in every context that's what's occurring, right? That's your ability to energetically discern that helps you heal and expand further. Mm-hmm. Excellent. And Midnight, thank you for the follow. Mm-hmm. And thank you so much, Lucas. I appreciate you. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But right, that's what we see there. Like, and that's the worst part about it. Right? You can't put that weight, right? When another person hasn't healed their inner child, right? That's the observation or the understanding as why. And like when you see someone, so when you saw that inner child making that choice, then you understand the inner child makes that choice out of fear, right? Mm-hmm. Sending you support, Julia. Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that reading, that dream with us. Spike, I want you to remember that you're in a space of safety and support, right? If you're feeling like that, make sure that you're communicating to another person. You're safe within your energy. No problem, Nicole. How you doing today, Anastasia? And thank you for sharing the live, Ella, and thank you for reposting. Excellent. Mm-hmm. And so that's what's interesting about it, right? Because there's going to be moments where it may feel like that, but your ability to energetically discern if that's the shadow work coming up in you or if that is what another person's trying to do is what is the important thing to recognize. It depends on what they're asking, right? It's the ability to understand what they're asking and for what purpose. Mm-hmm. But that's a perfect example. That's something, and like even in the space by which you're articulating it, that's a very strange thing to tell someone, right? That's a very strange way to start an energetic relationship. Yeah, sending you so much support there. Daniel, I'm happy to read for you on that. If you'd like to get on the list, list is open. You will be the third person read for. And thank you for sharing the live, Lucas. Always appreciated. Excellent. And so we are going to continue right now. I believe the next person who had, just bear with me a minute. The next person who has priority isn't available at the moment. So we are actually going to move into. If anybody else wants to get on the list right now, the list is open. It is 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers, Binks in my Lio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I don't read for: pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. The next person we're going to be moving into directly right now, 1 card readings for Superfam and for paid members. So if you are a Superfam or a paid member, you can go ahead and put your question up. I'll be happy to draw a card for you. And once we move through the 1 cards, we'll be moving back to the list. Excellent. All right, 1 card for Bridget. Highest priority, please. So it feels to me what I'm effectively seeing here is I think there's something really important about working through the context. Like, I feel like the one thing I keep on seeing in relationality to this energy right now is working through the observation that healthy energy loves seeing you have strong boundaries. Bottom of the deck on this reading. Yeah, particularly and especially with this 10 of Pentacles in its reversal. I feel like I'm identifying some kind of experience that's energetically requiring you to be able to identify like it's interesting because it feels like from a guide that's articulating about the fact that when we care about one another, we don't expect each other to be overgivers, right? When we care about one another, we never anticipate or expect one another to be overgivers. And the reason that we identify that we don't anticipate each other being overgivers is the observation of being able to, and this is where your animal oracle card is coming through, particularly and especially, I think it's interesting because there's something important to identify here in relationality to your pet energy, right? And it's funny too because I went to draw the cat energy. Now the other cards are coming up, but the thing about it is, um, when you when you are not being sweet, energy loves you just as much, right? There's something very important that I'm seeing there as it relates to being able to effectively identify and recognize to others the quality and condition by which we work to energetically heal. And when we work to energetically heal, we effectively observe and identify the state or nature by which we're effectively helping to work through something in a way by which we're always we're always putting the import in trying to make something energetically better. So if you're doing something in a way that's allowing you to effectively build into that sense or that state of healthy stabilization, then your observation of being able to identify and recognize what that feels like, you being able to help identify what that feels like, is what effectively makes that more real, right? So it says to me, like, I feel like this is you clearing some kind of energy in your experience that expected you to just be perpetually sweet, because it's saying that when you're moving, like your guides are basically articulating that those boundaries look good on you. Ellie, Ella, hold on a moment, Ella. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Daniel, these are donation-based readings. So if you'd like a reading, all you need to do is send the donation. I'll be happy to draw cards for you. It's 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more for those who are non-subscribers. I hope that helps. And so, Gurpreet, I just need to be clear. The teachings of Yahshua did not ask you to worship Yahshua. Yahshua asked you to treat each other with love and compassion. So if you're going to be articulating or invoking that all one needs to do is believe in someone instead of moving the way that they did, that is antithetical to what they were articulating for you to do, right? They were not identifying. They were not identifying that you should just look to them. They were saying look to them in terms of be as they were. So I just want to be clear on that if you're going to continue to communicate about it. I've got a very specific rule, which is not necessarily trying to invoke others' names to identify that they need to effectively conform to something that you yourself believe. That is you trying to be judgmental in terms of how you feel about others rather than working towards unified care and compassion. I hope that helps and sending you support on your journey. Excellent. Mm-hmm. Light. It's a hard question, so I like to point out, and this is sometimes in a way that we never look to tarot to effectively make decisions for us, but the ability that tarot can often provide us in terms of understanding the shape of the choices around us can help us. So just make sure that you're utilizing intention and focusing on manifestation goals to amplify those choices around you. Yep, you are definitely on the list, Gina. So the way we're doing it today is because we're short on time. The individuals we first read for had priority, which is why we're doing the 1 cards now. As soon as we finish the 1 cards, we'll be moving back into personal readings. I hope that helps. Yes. Ooh, I got you, Ella. Can I get 1 card, please? We've got the Ace of Wands here in its upright. So what I'm effectively seeing is occurring there is working through situations or circumstances by being able to help others effectively identify and recognize the shape of intention by which you're potentially working to help another individual um, find a sense of balance. And bottom of the deck on this, particularly, yeah, particularly with the Two of Wands in its upright, um, when we're trying to effectively communicate, then that observation or that work that we're able to identify allows us to be able to take more informed approaches as it relates to helping each other build into something healthy. And I feel like it's interesting because, like, yeah, I need to point out cruel energy will I articulate upon the fact that you're too energetically compassionate, right? There's no, if another person is trying to make you feel bad for being compassionate, that speaks more about the nature of their heart than it does yours, right? Because you have to understand that, and you have to understand this, right? We're supposed to care about things, right? And we're supposed to care about things. So what does it say about another when an individual tries to articulate, if another person is trying to articulate that you care too much, right? The guides see that individual as being too far gone, right? So don't let their opinion affect you as it relates to your own choices. Let it reinforce why you're doing something in the first place. Julia, I got you, dear. Excellent. Can I get one card, please? We've got the King of Wands here, and it's upright. And the King of Wands in its upright effectively helps us to identify and recognize um, the state or nature by which we're working through things is through the observation of being able to do something most effectively. So I think it's interesting because, I like to point out a good guide never tells us what to do. A good guide gives us what we need to get there. So I feel like it's interesting because I almost feel like I see some guides around you trying to give you that confidence boost. Right? And I feel like that confidence boost, the reason I keep on getting, the reason that confidence boost was coming to you in the middle of the night is because they recognized or identified that, like, that you get out of your own way, right? Like you get out of your own way. You get out of your own way. You get out of your own way consciously when you're doing something at that time because you're just allowing, like, it's allowing your unconscious to move you in the energetic direction that you know is energetically best for you, right? So if I keep on getting, if it felt like a hug, right? If it felt like a hug, then identifying and recognizing that that's, like, that was the hug, because the hug is basically them articulating that, giving you the confidence to let you know that you can do it, right? Like it feels to me like a little bit of a confidence boost that they were trying to bring to you. I got you one card for Gina related to that energy, please. We've got the Four of Pentacles. The Four of Pentacles in its reversal um, identifies and articulates to us um, about the work that we do that allows us to be able to do things more effectively. And I think it's really important because um, I see somebody around you that recognizes your capacity. And it feels like someone who doesn't want to, I feel like it's somebody who sees the fact that you've had to heal from energy. I want to say this, I know this can sound a little weird, but from energy that's been very klepto about your own energy, right? Like energy that's working on doing great things can't have energy demanding all of another person's time and energy near them, because, right, bottom of the deck, especially with the Knight of Cups in its reversal, right? Like what effectively happens or occurs in those experiences. It's the identification point that effectively, like, it's almost says to me, right, it says to me like some, I don't know what the shape of your last relationship was, but it effectively speaks to me of someone who, like, has a deep understanding of something that you've been through, because they've been through it too, right? Right, when you're doing great things, you can't have someone near you that demands all your energy, right? It's the understanding and the quality and condition of trying to effectively work towards mutual, like I keep on hearing, someone who's very invested in helping you recognize that they want to be a stabilizing force, is what I'm seeing, right? Rather than feeling like, I keep on hearing, rather than feeling like they're being demanding of, right? Like I keep on hearing, like, you're healing from someone who is potentially super over demanding. Mini, one card on how it will go. Oh, this came out, this flew out of the deck. This flew out of the deck very quickly. And so I think that there's something, I feel like there's something important there in, in relation to, like, particularly and especially, like it's giving me a little bit of like this, why didn't you, like I complete, like I almost see some, like, as long as you're articulating to another person what you feel is reasonable, I see somebody who feels very energetically eager to put that before you. Animal oracle, like, is particularly, it's interesting because with the air dragon, um I feel like the conversation that you'll probably have with them is the fact, like, them having to bring it somewhere else to see if they could make it happen, right? So just like I would say, like, make sure that if you're putting that forward to someone, you're giving it a little bit of time, because the time that we're energetically identifying there is basically articulating or experiencing or working towards energetic alignment, specifically and particularly as it relates to, them having to start those conversations or to have those things put into energetic motion. Avatar, one card on love for Avatar. This feels really beautiful right now, because what I'm basically seeing is, um, the energy that's for you is never going to be mad at you for having your guard up, you know? And the thing about it is, like, like, whatever it is that I see that you're healing from right now, I need to point this out. Um, Negligent energy will try to act surprised when they find one in, when they find one in an irritated state, you know? And I feel like what I'm basically seeing as it relates to relationship is someone who truly cares about you is not going to cultivate an irritated state with you in the first place. You know? Like, it's just saying to me that it's the observation, particularly and especially if there was something about a past relationship here where an individual was constantly, like, I keep on hearing, like, going away and coming back and then being surprised that you weren't as welcoming. Like, this is an energy, like, I'm seeing here that what's coming towards you in love right now is consistency. Like, someone who understands that welcoming energy is energetically earned by being energetically consistent with one another. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's beautiful, Bridget. And sending you so much support on that journey. I hope that they're well. Absolutely. You're so welcome, Minnie. Excellent. And Kristen, thank you for the follow. How you doing today, Yaz? Welcome back, Nicole. Perfect. All right, friends, we are going to pause on the one cards. We do have someone, Nicole's back and they're ready to have their reading. So if you guys can just hold on a moment and we'll continue back with them once we complete this reading. I'm doing well today, Real. How are you doing today? Oh, thank you for the compliment, Smitty. And thank you, Dejana, for those gold coins. I appreciate you. Absolutely. What's a one card reading? So all you need to do if you'd like a one card reading is you just send, if you just become a paid member. Anyone who becomes a paid member is entitled to a free one card reading each day. I hope that helps. I got you, Kayla. Speaking of which, one card for Kayla, please. Highest priority. Kayla, I know you've got a lot on your plate right now. Everything's going to get done. Okay, you're going to get everything done. You just need to focus and identify what you need to prioritize at this time, right? If it feels too bottom of the deck, if it feels too overwhelming, break it into smaller pieces. Everything is manageable so long as you break it down into smaller parts. Animal Oracle, especially with the bull, right? Don't feel overwhelmed. If you're feeling overwhelmed, just give yourself a minute and then just allow, like, it sometimes I keep wondering, a minute of planning potentially saving you like a week of stress. So this is, I have to point out, I just wrote this down. I just articulated this in the Mystic Meditation article. This is a beautiful energy right now. As my, hold on, as my mic pulls out, give me a minute. Right? This is a, this is an absolutely beautiful energy to build new systems. So think about, if it feels, if something feels too overwhelming right now, think about that better system. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Absolutely. No problem, Minnie. Good to see you today. All right. And thank you, Leslie, for the follow. I appreciate you. And I got you, Ava, one card on why. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Ava. Um, can I get one card, please? It's where the warriors forged in battle. um, I know it's going to sound weird, but the answer is like warriors go where they're needed. Okay. It's like, right? It's not pretty. That's why you don't find the warriors in pretty places. You don't find the warriors in pretty places. You find the warriors. You find the warriors where they're energetically needed to be, right? They're not going to be. They're not going to be somewhere pleasant. They're not going to be somewhere you want to be. Animal Oracle, yeah, right. Especially if you're drawn to warrior energy, right? It's rough. It's rough on those spiritual streets. I hope that helps, dear. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. How are you doing today, Erin? Absolutely. Okay. Oh, thank you. I do my best, Leash. Excellent. And just bear with me a minute. And welcome from Scotland, McPhinney. How you doing today, Thomas? All right. I have a very strict rule for anyone in the chat space that's posting non sequiturs. If you're posting non sequiturs, I will report and remove you very quickly. Okay? Because non sequiturs create a fear based mindset in those that don't understand what you're communicating. So if you're not posting full thought forms, you will be removed and blocked. Thank you for respecting the rules of the chat space. Gurpreet, we did a full astrological reading on all the signs about 2 days ago, which you can either find over on my place where I keep the videos or over on my stack or as a podcast on Spot. But if you'd like a personal reading, I'm happy to read for you. It's 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more for those who are non-subscribers. You're welcome, dear. Oh, that sounds very intense, Madge. Excellent. Hi there from West Yorkshire. How you doing today? And Leslie, thank you for the follow. All right, Grand Rising, Esteban. Good to see you today. We're going to pause for a moment on the one cards. We have the next person we're reading for right now is Nicole. Excellent. Nicole, could you let me know if you'd like a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer? And we will be getting back to the one cards once we complete this reading. You're so welcome, Minnie. And Nicole, I believe you said that we're doing a dream interpretation. And Kristen, thank you for becoming the 103rd member of my fan club. Thank you for the follow. And Gabrielle, thank you so much for the heart me's. Guys, please remember to recharge your heart me's if you're joining us on the place where we keep the videos, on the clock app, if you would like an animal oracle card on top of your one card. Excellent. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like that, I feel like that's why the guides were having you do it at that time, because they realized that you were going to get out of your own way. You know? Yep. I'm going to go back, Yaz. Thank you so much for your patience. Mm-hmm. Excellent. I'm just reading back. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So Nicole, all right. Thank you for letting me know, dear. Okay. So why don't we do this? Okay. So Nicole, you're not, first of all, Esteban, you're not interrupting ever. Okay. So don't have to worry about that. But Nicole, I want to make sure that your devices are working before we start the reading. So if you need more time, then I'll continue with the one cards. You let me know what you need right now. Okay? You're good now? Okay. So why don't we, I know that you're also in a space by which time is necessary. So let's do we're going to do your reading, and then we're going to move back into one cards, because you also had priority, which means you were being read for before we started the one cards. Excellent. All right. And before we continue, perfect. Before we continue with Nicole's reading, let's warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal oracle cards here. We're going to count back from 10. And when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. Oh, thank you, Kayla. And thank you for being a part of this collective. I appreciate you. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the bear. We'll do that again after the next reading. And let me just pull up this question here. Dream interpretation. Esteban. You know, the funny part is I know the card you're talking about. All right. And before we get started on the dream interpretation, before we get started on dreams, we always bust out the dream coconut. All right, let's get to it. Outside tea. And I'm going to be pinning up, one moment please. I'm pinning up Nicole here. Oh, I appreciate that, Nikki. Thank you. Excellent. Mm-hmm. Where'd you go? Okay. All right. The past 2 nights My dreams, I don't remember much. I will articulate you that you're not the only person I know who's experiencing this right now. I just remember my ex being there, and me being annoyed. As I was driving to work this morning, I was daydreaming a little bit. And I remember in my dream last night, my ex was shirtless and had huge muscles. It felt like he was trying to flex or impress me with them. Um, the person in the dream space said, "You like that," as they flexed their arm. And it was weird. And the body didn't look like it matched the one that I recalled being on them. And you had no idea what to think of this. But we used to say stuff like that and joke around like a lot. Um, I don't think we were at a gym, but he came out looking like he walked out of a gym or was talking to me about going to the gym and working out. It was like they had oil on them to define their muscles or something, and it was so weird since I haven't had any dreams besides the ones I can recall with them in it, and it's the only detail I can remember from the past 2 nights. When we split after the incident, he was going to the gym every day, out of character, but I assume that's what, you know, like that was their way of navigating through the experience. And you effectively had to move, like you effectively worked to like identify the fact. Um, mm-hmm, absolutely. So basically, we're trying to get a dream interpretation in relationality to what this dream means or what it energetically indicates. Can I please get 4 cards? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 more. And mm-hmm. So the dream is about timing. Okay? The dream is about timing. Okay? Because it's the observation of timing in relationality to what we do to take care of ourselves, right? Versus what we do to energetically impress another. Okay? And again, it's a shadow work dream because shadow work dreams are effectively showing us something that we've energetically been through. Okay? And what we're effectively seeing as it relates to past experiences is the quality and condition by which another person has a relationship with their own energetic vessel. Okay? And the best way you can describe it is when you're having a healthy relationship with your vessel, right? You do things. You do things because you like to see them upon one's own person, right? It's the observation of feeling a sense of energetic pride, right? It's a space by which we feel that we energetically feel confident in terms of how we energetically appear. And what we effectively identify that's happening in this space is potentially, right? And this is why you saw in the dream space the observation of seeing someone from an ex relationship in a body that doesn't necessarily feel like one that you would associate to them, right? Because that is the difference between, and this is what you noticed in terms of what you're experiencing presently versus what you're potentially seeing now, which is the observation of experiences by which another person wanted to show, right? Wanted to effectively show to another the space or place of being energetically admired, right? And this is why, right? This is why you're potentially feeling emotions related to it because your guides, like in the dream space, your guides are literally reminding you of experiences by which another individual was trying to show off something to you in order for you to admire it, right? And allowing that to be the way that they assumed that they could fix a relationship, right? Because you have to understand, and this is why you're potentially, we're working through a lot of emotions related to it, is if another person, right, the space or nature by which we try to work on ourselves, right? We can work on ourselves here, right? We can work on ourselves here, or we can work on ourselves here. We can do both, right? ideally, 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 when we're working to heal, we're taking good care of all of our spheres, right? Which is like good here and good here. But the observation of you seeing, right? What did you see in the dream space? You saw in the dream space, you're basically doing an energetic read on this person, right? Which is them trying to solve, right? Potentially trying to solve a this situation with a this, right? That there's something that's wrong, like there's something that was problematic, right? There was something problematic between you. I wouldn't be surprised if you identified the fact that there was something problematic occurring between you and and this individual as it relates to here. And this is like you having a dream that's giving you a reaffirmation of the fact that it's as bad as you fear, because instead of them doing the work here, what are they doing? They're doing the work here. Right? They're doing the work here. They're like, oh, I don't need to fix this. I just need to get this in energetic shape, right? To become more appealing. But and this is why you felt energetically devastated in the dream space, because it's the observation of someone taking the wrong lessons from an energetic relationship, which is when a relationship isn't working, right? When we come into spaces by which we energetically separate, it's okay, right? It's okay to do things that help us to effectively navigate or work through it. But, right, if there's an experience, basically the indication that potentially is making you feel further devastated is the fact that potentially someone, instead of doing the work to resolve what was happening here, right, in the headspace that may have led to the dissolution of a relationship, they're just trying to get into the space of being as impressive as possible, right? They're just taking that work and trying to perfect the physical body instead of working on the spiritual or the mental body. And so that is why you saw in the dream space, right? That's why you said it seemed, right? That's why you said it seemed so weird and it was energetically devastating, because it was you saying, right? You saw, what did you see? It doesn't matter how much one changes one body, right? I guarantee you it felt like everything here was exactly the same. Bottom of the deck, right? Yeah, that's them potentially energetically perpetuating an unhealthy cycle, right? Because perpetuating an unhealthy cycle, right? When even the best and worst relationships we always experience, we allow for the moment by which we're recognizing and absorbing what it is that we can effectively resolve and do differently to allow for a stronger relationship. And here's the thing about it: there is nothing that you can do physically that will fix a bad sense of relationship, right? There's nothing you can do physically that's going to fix a relationship problem, right? So if there was an issue about something that was happening between you both relationally, right? And you were effectively articulating to them the fact that there was something that was relationally concerning, right? And instead they're resolving it but trying to bring it into the physical space, right? It means that they're effectively, like, they're going to go into the same, they're going to put someone through the same thing that they effectively put you through, right? Because they're not observing, they're not taking the time to recognize or identify what necessarily needs to change, so much as they're trying to change their physical form, right, to become more impressive, rather than recognizing and identifying where the real work needs to occur. Thank you so much for having that reading with me, dear. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now. If you would like to get on the list is open. I'll probably only take maybe one or two more people today before we close the list. I am going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of energy as there's something with absolutely no problem, Esteban. Yeah. There's you can't it does you can't fix a relationship issue by becoming more appealing, right? Sending you support on that journey, Nicole. And Galina, thank you for the follow. But here's the thing about it. That's why, right? That's potentially why you're working through the cringe, right? Because it's basically you identifying in the dream space, someone taking the wrong lessons from an energetic experience, you know? Mm-hmm. And Melissa, thank you for the follow as well. And yeah, like yeah, they have to focus on exactly, right? Like they're putting all of the you said it exactly. They're focusing all their energy on external instead of internal. And River, thank you for the follow. But and here's the thing about it. If you're observing that, you did not create that, right? You did not create those circumstances, right? That's what they're working through. Mm-hmm. And the reason that you're potentially observing that it's making you feel uncomfortable, and here's the thing about it, there's absolutely nothing wrong than building into a sense of having a healthy relationship with one's body, but not if the healthy relationship with one's body is avoiding where the real work needs to occur, right? Absolutely. And sending you so much support on that journey. Oh my gosh. Oh, I hope everybody's okay, dear. All right, let's continue right now. All right, we are going to be moving back into one card readings. So if you are a super fan or a subscriber, a paid member on the place where we keep the videos, just go ahead and put your question in the comments. I'll be happy to draw a card for you. And if you'd like to become a super fan or subscriber, now is a great time to do so because also be able to have that one card reading. Excellent. Mm-hmm. I got you. Absolutely. Wait, I gotta go back to Esteban here. I'm trying to go back to the list on those I missed. Just bear with me a minute. Mm-hmm. Okay. Where was your question, Esteban? I can't find it. Oh, I got it. One card. Highest priority, please. Um, it's giving someone time. It's giving some, you know what about it? Um, I feel like there's something about um it's about giving someone the time they need to do something effectively, right? Bottom of the deck. Yeah, particularly and especially. I liked like the thing about it is when we're trying to work through a healthy sense of timing, when we're working through a healthy sense of timing, then we're identifying and I keep on hearing a healthy sense of timing does not require perpetual reminding, but the state or nature by which we take the time that is energetically necessary to do things that allow us to do things in ways that are important. And I feel like there's something important related to this right now that identifies the fact that um, like your energy is like don't don't expend energy in spaces by which you're waiting unless there is a sense of timeliness to it. So if there's something energetically pressing that you need information upon, then it's okay to put energetic pressure there. But giving another person the space that they need to do something effectively allows you as well to be able to identify and communicate upon something in the best way that one is able to, right? Like that's you being, I keep hearing like that's you navigating situations with a sense of professionalism, right? And it says to me, like, it's interesting because it says like um, professionalism is communicating how much time you need to bring something into fruition. So if you're talking to another person about that, let that be the energetic conversation. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Excellent. And thank you as well. Thank you for the follow, Melissa. Hi there, Dr. Genuine. How are you doing today? Um, so new in relationality to how these readings work. If you decide to have a reading here, you just need to send the donation and ask your question. We don't need to necessarily do it face to face. My private readings are done face to face virtually, if that's what you're asking about. I hope that helps. Mm-hmm. And thank you, Kayla. I appreciate that. Excellent. Oh, I appreciate that, Gurpreet. Again, I've got a very simple a very simple rule here. As long as we're treating each other with a sense of dignity and compassion, then everybody is welcome to stay here. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right, I got you, Nikki. One card, highest priority, please. Um, if another person is going to read the worst intentions in everything you do, right? Like leave them there. You know, like leave them in their worst intentions, right? Like like that's the thing about it. Because when we care about each other, we give one another the benefit of the doubt, right? We work through we work through our worst intentions to allow for the beauty of possibility to occur. And here's the thing about it, we help each other, right? When we care about each other, we articulate upon our fear, we don't necessarily react to it. So being able to communicate to another person, like I feel like, you know, the hard part about this energy right now, and I'm going to tell you, it's like it's shadow work central. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of shadow work coming up, but this is why like when we're working through it, right? We take a beat is the best way to describe it, and it doesn't require us to be perfect, but it requires us to be energetically accountable for it. So if you're doing that, like making sure that you're helping another person through it, because I do feel that like I like to point out, um, it's it's really hard right now, particularly in navigating energy like this, because I feel like there's a quality to this energy that can feel very much akin to the feeling of everyone being against the self. But if everyone's against the self, we don't have to be that way, right? Like we are the force that can embrace when we're feeling a lot of that energy. So think about helping another person better that embrace. One card for Hannah on that convo. Oh my gosh, what's up, Hannah? I got 4 cards coming up here. Okay, what's going on? They gotta stick. It's not about the. It's not about like they're great when they're talking, but they gotta. It's gotta. They gotta move into doing, right? Like talking is half of it. It's everything's in the doing. Okay, and I feel like there's something about that. You know, there's something about that that says like I keep on hearing, give me a date, right? Give me a yeah, right. If this person like make like date focused conversations, and I want to point out, a date focused conversation is the gift that we give each other when we know that there's a lot going on, right? When we know that there's a lot going on, we don't take it personally, but the ability to effectively like navigate that with a sense of energetic responsibility is is working into the shape or nature of being able to articulate to another um, what that opportunity is. So I feel like, it says to me, like, making sure that you and another person have the same manifestation goals, right? Because I see somebody that may be having a lot of ideas, right? But ideas are grounded with action towards them, even if it's incremental. Thank you so much for having that reading with me, dear. Mm-hmm. And Adina, thank you for those heart me's, dear. Guys, make sure to give Adina some love. Had a beautiful podcast with Adina a while back. You can find it on her page or over on my stack. If you comment, Adina, I'm happy to pin you up. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nicole. I feel like the tower in its reversal is identifying and reflecting um, bottom of the deck with the 9 of Pentacles in its reversal it's working on, right? It's working through the observation of identifying and recognizing what one should feel energetic gratitude upon, right? And the thing about it is, um, there are those, like, when we're working into the space of building into gratitude, then the observation of being able to recognize that we're experiencing, right? That we're experiencing the weight of another's care, right? We don't feel like something is being done to us. We recognize the shape of what feels like another person is energetically protective, right? And so I feel like in terms of identifying the energetic, the energy around something there, um, it's even working through the observation of feeling the compassion in terms of recognizing the force by which, like, thank goodness, right? Like, thank goodness that something bad did not happen, specifically and particularly because, right, it articulates and amplifies the state or nature by which we effectively care about one another. So it's interesting that we see a lot of that bear energy there, because what we're basically identifying is working into, right? working into our own sense of energetic release and relief in terms of being able to identify the difference. And this is often what happens. Sometimes, right? Like sometimes things happen, and when things happen, we can either focus on what happened versus experiencing the observation of how much worse something could have energetically been. So I feel like it's interesting because the shape of that experience, right? The way that another person articulates it informs one in terms of what another person may be focusing upon, right? So the observation of feeling the amplification of care in terms of feeling the relief that everybody was in a state of safety articulates and amplifies the energetic importance of being able to recognize the shape of intention by which we're effectively moving through things. So I feel like there's something important related to that because it's in that experience, right? Like in that experience, I feel like there's a state of contemplation that occurs in terms of how others navigate experiences, in terms of what they themselves are focusing upon, if that makes sense. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I got you, Hannah. Yes. And thank you for sharing the live, Dr. Genuine. How you doing, Queen of Swords? It's a lot right now. It's intense. How are you doing? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was spot on. Thank you, Nikki. You're so welcome, dear. How you doing today, Julie? Excellent. Hi, how you doing today, Rose? Mm-hmm. And hello there. So Nee, there's a meaning in terms of your question related to the tarot. The tarot cards all have a meaning to them. I actually have a class where we work to try to educate others in terms of the meaning of the cards. If you're interested in learning more about that, I would encourage you. We've got a monthly class program over on my stack that you can find. Our next class is going to be on Thursday. I'm sorry, Friday, August 14th at 5:30 p.m. PST, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be focusing our studies on the tarot with a focus on the three cards of the minor arcana. Mm-hmm. How you doing, Julie? Good to see you as well. Excellent. So Yaz, again, we never look to the cards to make decisions for us, but can I get a card to see what you could potentially expect there? We've got the Nine of Pentacles in its reversal. So I feel what we're, it says to me, like, it's interesting because I feel like, I feel like it's you accepting the fact that you're going to feel a little bit like a fish out of water there. Okay. Yeah. Um, especially with the five of especially with the five of cups. I feel like I see you there more. Like I almost feel like I see you there more like acting as another's cheerleader, right? Like it feels like you giving another person a boost of confidence. Particularly and especially with a lot of this air dragon energy that we're identifying there. It says to me that that's you working into the context of being able to identify and resolve upon um, how, right, like it's like it's interesting because for me, like I almost see you looking, I feel like there's a point by which you are interested in it more so out of
Grand Rising,
oh my gosh,
Happy Tuesday.
that's so funny. But even in like that's what I mean. Like it's that quality of kind of seeing others doing something in such a way that feels like it's like you kind of like I feel like it feels like a very surreal experience for you is the best way I can describe it. Right? Like you're like I feel like you're gonna go there and be like, it's really surreal in here. So I feel like you'll appreciate the surrealness, but you'll be having a different experience than others around you, if that makes sense. Julie, one card, please, related to that individual. Hmm. We've got the Page of Pentacles in its upright. So this feels like somebody trying to come towards you in a very like this feels like somebody who's very, very serious in terms of what it is that they're looking to have with you. You know? Um, bottom of the deck. Yeah, the one thing I need to point out is there's something about navigating in intensity, right? Yeah, like especially with the dog energy. The one thing I like to point out that we see there is be conscientious if another person starts articulating upon what they do and don't like, because um, when we are effectively working through healthy relationship, um, when we're working through healthy relationship, it's it says to me, like, I feel like the warning word for you is somebody articulating heavily on what they don't like in terms of them talking about the things that they love, right? Because it says like when we are building into relationship with one another, it's not about cultivating likability. So this could be something that they themselves have experienced, or something that they themselves they themselves have had experience upon. So being conscientious of that, right? Particularly as it relates to like I keep on hearing, like, we don't try to enforce preferences. We talk about what we energetically find, like the things that we love, instead of the things that we don't like, is what I keep on getting. Yep. But it feels very like I see somebody that's looking for something real. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I got you, Lisa. How you doing today, Ash? Hope you're having a beautiful day. You're so welcome, Hannah. And Lisa. Okay, one card, please. We've got the Ace of Pentacles in its reversal. So the Ace of Pentacles in its reversal works us through it works us through what's energetically possible, but not just the fact of what's possible, but um it says to me, like, I see you like putting a lot of invested effort right now in um not only, I keep on getting, not only the things that you're doing, but the things that you're effectively working upon. And I'm just seeing even there that there's something, I feel like there's something really energetically important, specifically and particularly because um there's something, I'm seeing that's significant about you. Like, it's giving me the energy of talking about working in the wings, right? And when we talk about, here's the thing about it, when you're working in the wings, you can't be getting in arguments with another person. You can't be getting in arguments with another person about something that they're doing in an egoic way, right? Like when you're doing everything you can, it's not about ego. It's about putting energy where you know, like it's you doing the work of putting energy where you know it's best it's best served. So if you're doing something like that and another person's up in their ego as you are effectively, right, as you're working towards purpose, right? That's energy like that is energy. That is not something that you need to fix. That's something you just need to put distance around, right? Because it's the quality and condition of being able to identify and recognize that when you're working on uplift, there's no room for ego, right? When you're working on uplift, there's no room for ego. And if someone's getting deep in their ego as you're sitting there trying to uplift something, that tells you everything you need to know about them, not about what you're energetically doing. You're so welcome, Hannah. Grand Rising, Adina. Good to see you. There you are. I'm going to pin you up there. Excellent. Mm-hmm. I got you, dear. Gabrielle, one card, highest priority, related to love. You need a protector, right? You need an energetic protector when it comes to love, which is understanding the quality and condition of someone being very protective about what you do, how you do it, the space that you need to do it, and also about the peace that you need, right? The peace that you need in the intervening time in between is what I keep on seeing, right? The observation of another person that is protective of you, right? Protectors don't see you. Yeah, right? Protectors don't see you as a vacation, they see you as a destination, right? Right. I just keep on hearing you're not an island, you're a castle. And I feel like that's the thing about it. I feel like there's some kind of energy that you're clearing from the past that was seeing you as some kind of reprieve from their own life, right? You're not a reprieve. You are the destination. And if another person is trying to identify, right, like the space by which another person tries to articulate how sweet and precious their time is with you, that is energy trying to articulate that they're trying to define limits in terms of what they have with you. Your divine counterpart isn't going to try to limit the time that they have with you. They're going to want to expand. They're going to want to expand on it. They're going to want more of it, right? They're going to want to energetically incorporate into it. Thank you, dear. Mm-hmm. Estevan. I already drew your card. I already drew your card, Estevan. The card I drew for you was the card I drew for you, it was related to the Eight of Wands and its reversal, but we were also seeing there the Page of Swords and its upright with the fire dragon. So it was saying being very conscientious of not um if you put something in another person's hands, right? Don't don't be too forceful in terms of asking what they're doing with it unless there's an element of time that is necessary in order to activate upon it, right? So giving another person the time that they need while also identifying and expressing like the if you need to have a conversation with another person, the conversation that's fortified in terms of being able to articulate to another in terms of saying like I don't mean to rush you, but if we're going to do this effectively, this is the timeline I'm potentially seeing. So make sure that those conversations aren't about checking, they're articulating upon desired timelines. Absolutely. You're so welcome, dear. Don't need to apologize for it. And thank you, Moonlight, for the follow. Excellent. All right, we are going to continue right now. We're moving back into personal reads. If anybody else wants to get on the list for today, I'll probably take one more individual today before I'm closing the list. And the next person we're reading for today is Gina. Gina, if you're here, can you respond in all caps and let me know if you'd like a general reading or if you have a specific question that you'd like me to answer? And again, if anybody else would like to get on the list today, I've got room on the list for one more person today. It is 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I don't read for across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insights on anything in private reads, and you can book private reads on my site. You're so welcome, Esteban. Second call right now for Gina. Second call right now for Gina. I see you, dear. Perfect. Excellent. One minute. Mm-hmm. And how are you doing today, Joel? Excellent. And Stevie, how are you doing today? Welcome. Excellent. All right. So in terms of the individual asking about the book that comes with tarot cards, you have to understand that the quality of the definition that can come in the small guidebook that comes with a deck of cards is just cracking the surface in terms of what can potentially be found there. It's not, it's the tip of the I mean, when you get a book of tarot card, when you get tarot and you see that book, that's basically, you have to look at that book as the tip of the iceberg, if that makes sense. I hope that helps. Excellent. All right, and just a reminder to anybody joining us on the place where we keep the videos as well, you can also get on the list today via my tree that is Binks in it in my bio, or by sending a donation directly through the app. It's 3 cards for 29 for those who are non-members, 4 cards for 23 for those who are. You're also entitled to a free 1 card each day if you are a paid member. Excellent. And before we continue right now with Gina's reading, we are going to warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal oracle cards here. We're going to count back from 10. And when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the sow. We'll do it again after the next reading. And I'm going to pin up Gina here. Guys, make sure to give Gina some love. Can I get 4 cards, 3 cards, please? 3 cards. So, how do I describe what I'm seeing here? It's really weird. Like the thing about it that I'm seeing, and I just want to tell you this. You know, the best thing I can describe about this is pay attention to the sound of there's energy that loves nothing more. I know this is going to sound really weird, but there's energy that literally loves nothing more than to see feminine energy fight with itself, right? And when you recognize that there's distasteful energy that loves nothing more than trying to see feminine energy fight with itself, right? The form of someone trying to hurt feminine energy in your own life is the sound of someone being like, oh, you know what I like, the sound of that is, you know what I heard, right? You know what I heard? And I want you to write that down, okay? I want you to write that down because you know what I heard is very convenient, right? Because you know what I heard doesn't have a source to it, right? It's a very, you know what I heard is a very convenient alibi, right? It's a very convenient alibi. You know what I heard is a very convenient alibi because it identifies and articulates the state or nature by which we recognize and identify the quality and condition by which we effectively do something as well as, and so I want you to understand when someone says, you know what I heard in your life, what they're really saying is, you know what I made up? Like, you know what I made up? Right? There's that energy. Like a little bit, a little equal sign, right? A little equal sign between the difference between you know what I heard versus you know what I just made up. You know what I just made up, right? Because I guarantee you, you know what I heard is the culprit, right? You know what I heard is the culprit. The energy that says, you know what I heard, they're the culprit of whatever it is you're hearing. They're literally, because, and if they can't articulate, right? If they can't articulate where it came from, it's them, okay? Like, you know what I heard is literally someone being like, you know what I literally made up and I'm now articulating to you because everything, everything has an energetic source attached to it. So don't let somebody get you to articulate everything about another person. Because I'll tell you right now, the sound of another person trying to get into another person's business is coming to you and saying, you know what I heard, and then saying something to you so untrue that then you go about trying to clarify it. And now what are you doing? You're giving that person information, right? There you are. You're giving that person information, right? So I think that that's really important because you have to understand when another person, right? When another person says something about someone else we know, right? Our job doesn't have to be to correct it. We go, that's not true. That's all I have to say. That's not true, right? And see how quickly, right? See how quickly, right? And you even saying that, why would you say that? Right? And they're going to say, I didn't say, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Because if you're articulating that you heard something and you're not articulating the space that you heard it, that's you taking ownership over what you heard, right? Because that is someone navigating situations irresponsibly, right? There's no there's no hearsay, right? There's no hearsay when one is working towards intention, because when you understand that there is energy that literally delights, I know it sounds sad, but there's energy that literally delights in wrecking things, right? That literally sees energy operating in a state of bliss and goes, I want to see if I can damage that, right? And I got to tell you, that has more to do. That has more to do with the pain. I know you're looking at something being like, why would someone do that? Because that's somebody who's in a deep state of pain. right? That is somebody who's in a deep state of pain that is potentially working into, right? Working into the space by which they themselves, right? Working through a deep space state of pain that they need to feel good, right? That they need to energetically feel good, seeing the fact that they can energetically damage something, right? And I like to point out, when you see somebody like that, you don't need to have a conversation with them, right? You just shake your head and you step back, right? You just shake your head and you step back, and they're gonna be like, "Where are you going?" You'd be like, I gotta go somewhere," like, right? And I know it's painful, right? Because, and I know, and listen, I'll tell you right now, I know that there's a desire to energetically defend, right? I know that there's a desire to energetically defend another, but when you understand the shape of another person, right? When another person when another person is trying to violate another individual's boundaries, the shape and nature that an individual will try to violate another person's boundaries is by coming towards another person and saying, I'm concerned. I'm so concerned about them. Yeah, they won't talk to me. Yeah, they won't talk. I'm really concerned. They won't talk to me. That is the sound. That is a dangerous person, right? Right there, that is the dangerous person. Because what that person is indicating to you is saying, they told me that they don't want to communicate with me, right? What they're really saying is, they told me that they don't want to communicate with me. And so now I'm going to go around to everybody and articulate that I'm concerned because they won't let me violate their boundary, right? And so you don't need, right? You don't need to ease. There's no easing someone's concern who has a boundary issue, right? The space by which you basically say, I'll check, right? Like, you know what? I'll look into it. Thank you for letting me know. That's all you need to say, right? That's you doing your due diligence, because that observation, right? Like that experience. And here's the thing about it, it's the creepiest energy you'll ever encounter, right? The creepiest energy you'll ever encounter will be someone insisting the fact that they're being so nice, right? They're so nice. They're so nice that they're so nice, and they're so worried, right? And there's nothing nice about that, right? There's absolutely nothing nice about it. Invasive energy will articulate that they're upset because another individual won't allow them to be nice to them. But yeah, and here's the thing, and if you're navigating that, right? Like, that is concerning. Don't let another person try to get between you and another person. Let the fact that they are be your information. And I feel like this is a it's interesting too, because this feels like somebody ancestral that's overseeing some kind of information, like some kind of situation with someone like like, and even in the space which I'm clearing my throat, you know, like it's that type of energy, right? Like, all you have to do is like wish them well and hope they find what they need, and help them understand that the quality and condition by which, when we care about someone truly, we honor their choices, right? Like, you can even say that to them. You know, when we care about someone, we honor their choices. Are you honoring their choice? You have to ask yourself, is that person honoring their choices? Or are they trying to effectively create like problems because they see someone honoring their choices? I'm sending you so much support on that journey. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. I'm going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Mm-hmm. I'm just reading over. I'm just reading over the comments. Oh, sending you support, dear. You have no idea what happened. They made up their own story. Well, like let them then let them have that story, right? Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Ruby. Yeah, you've been asking, and then you've been asking why they're saying those things. Yeah, and you said you don't agree with them. Mm-hmm. And Nikki, thank you for the follow. Yeah, and I want to point this out, right? If they're going through, yeah, if like don't it like let the silence be the closure, right? Like let the silence be the closure. If they've just energetically disappeared on you, let that be the closure. I guarantee you they're going to potentially try to come back with it, right? And they're going to come back and they're going to try to articulate that somebody said something to them, right? Now, like this is what I'm seeing. Hi there, Rosario. I'm sending you so much support on that journey, dear. Um, I like to point out I am not someone who ascribes the fact that there's good or bad energy around one another. But if there's something that you feel that's energetically uncomfortable, right? Then like just allow it to be the space by which you can like you can kind of work through the energetic shadow work as to why one might feel that way, right? We have to be conscientious. Like I like to point out, us being conscientious is recognizing the quality and condition of what we identify as bad energy to be able to understand why we feel that way, because sometimes other energy brings the shadow work up in us, and sometimes there's a specific reason why. I know I can see a situation like that being painful, dear. Just bear with me a moment. Hold on, I gotta report somebody. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a second. Okay. Yep. Apologies for that person that came in. They've been removed. I know, Jeannie, sending you support on that journey as well. And thank you as well, Brave, for the follow. Thank you as well, Amir, for receiving that message. But and here's the thing about it, right? Like if it feels like if you're already in the space by which another person has an intermediary communicating on your behalf, like that's your closure, right? You don't need to pursue anymore. You just let that be your confirmation. I totally understand and sending you so much support on that journey. And I'm going to tell you right now, and this is going to be your confirmation. If they try to come back to you with some wild story about them navigating the fact that somebody said something about you, that is your closure too, right? Because it's the same understanding of working through or coming to the source of things rather than effectively believing energy that's trying to effectively disrupt things. There's energy that doesn't want to see us in a bliss state. And if that's the person that effectively moves towards the inclination of another person, like listening to hearsay instead of recognizing, right, what is actually for them, that's them having, they haven't come into maturity yet to be able to navigate a healthy relationship. And that's not your fault. That's on them. Sending you so much support on that journey, dear. Excellent. All right, my friends. Final call today for anybody who I know. Don't over internalize it, right? And here's the thing about it. Your ability, like I guarantee you, right? The state or nature by which you like and over internalize it will feed into whatever another person is potentially trying to say to them. So just allow it to be the focus in terms of working towards your own sense of peace so that you can effectively identify. It'd probably be a really good time right now to write down like what you aspire for in terms of an ideal counterpart, because an ideal counterpart, like your divine counterpart, is never going to navigate what another person's saying about you with silence towards you. And sending you so much support on that journey. I know, and let the lack of sense be the closure, right? If it doesn't make any sense, let that be the closure. Thank you so much, dear. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to also be here to experience them. Another final call right now for anyone who is a paid subscriber over on the place where we keep the videos, or anyone who is a super fan. If you'd like a card pulled today, just let me know. Excellent. And Lisa Bell, thank you for letting me know that you subscribed, but the one card readings are for those who are paid members. So the paid membership entitles you to the one card. Excellent. How you doing today, Asai? And welcome, Deborah. How are you doing today? I got you, Ruby. Thank you for letting me know. One card for Ruby, please. Highest priority. Did you post a question related to it, Ruby? I got it. One card on insight. Oh. Um, I just keep on hearing the same message. When something is positive, it doesn't require our when something is like when we're working into something that is energetically positive, right? Then it's like I see somebody that's like working through a lot of deep vulnerability as it relates to um, what we identify or how we care about one another, right? And I feel like there's something really important there because it feels the best way I can describe what I'm seeing here is like some like I don't know why, but it's identifying that I just keep on hearing when you make the choice to expand too quickly, right? Yeah, like when you expand too quickly, like energetic things, like things get like things sometimes are not the like not in the space by which there's enough to energetically handle something. So I literally see a situation related to that that has to do, I keep on getting like the responsibility that is articulated by making sure, I keep on hearing making sure that we're expanding. When we're expanding responsibly, then we're able to identify to each other what that looks like, right? It doesn't depreciate the quality of care that we're energetically receiving, if that makes sense. Ugh, I'm sending you so much support on that journey, dear. Absolutely. My friends, final call right now for anyone who would like a one card reading. Again, just a reminder, we are going to, yep, you're so welcome, dear. So I wanted to remind you, if you would like to join us this evening, we are going to be back online this evening with a very special event that is going to be hosted by Mercy Me Tarot. We're going to be having a conversation on the state of spirituality today with myself, Mercy Me, and a bunch of other incredibly talented spiritual educators. If you'd like to join us tonight, that is going to be held at 3 p.m. PST, 6 p.m. 3:30 p.m. PST, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. You can register for that event directly. You can also find the registration link for that event over on my stack. We will be back on tomorrow at our usual time. If you became a super fan or a subscriber today, welcome. I would encourage you to join us over on our super fam only disco channel, which you can find. You'll be able to introduce yourself to the collective there. You'll also find a special coupon code there in the perk section that will give you an invite to our next tarot class, which is going to be held on Friday, August 14th at 5:30 p.m. PST, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the 3 cards of the Minor Arcana. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages. A huge thank you if you to my followers, old and new. Thank you for being here today and receiving these messages. Huge thank you to my subscribers. Your ongoing support means the absolute world to me. I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful day. Please take care of yourselves. Please take care of one another. We'll be back on tomorrow at our usual time. 10:30, 8:30 p.m. PST, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. If you would like to get on the list for tomorrow, you will have priority, which means you'll be read for before we begin the Daily Collective. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages. Huge thank you to my followers, old and new. Thank you for being here and receiving these messages. Huge thank you to my subscribers. Your ongoing support means the absolute world to me. I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful day. Please take care of yourselves. Please take care of one another. And we will do this again tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone.